Stampers Kim from stampingandperfection.com. Welcome to my craft room. I wanted to share a card idea that I got from one of my demonstrator magazines. Stampin' Up! Has a ton of basically resources that kind of just to give us ideas and inspiration and things like that. Here, I copied this card exactly from this month's demonstrator magazine. I love the way this card turned out, and it uses quite a few of the new products and some old ones. So let me show you how to get started with this. It's very clean and simple. The only thing I modified, I used an orange flower. They used a white flower, and I just used an orange one because I already had that punched. So let me show you how to get started with this card. First of all, I'm using these are called File Tabs Edgelits, and what you get 2 File Tab Edgelits. And you can see when you pick this up, I'm going to use this one. When you pick this up, you can see one side has a raised edge and this other side is completely smooth. The raised edge is the cutting edge. That's the part that's going to go down on top of the paper. So I'm going to use this one. You'll also notice that you get the numbers 1, 2, and 3 here. So you get 2 different file tabs, so you can have end tabs and then you can have a center tab. So it's actually pretty fun. So I'm starting with that. I have my magnetic platform here, and I've cut a piece of Whisper White at 5.5 by 8.5. I scored it at 4 1/4, so I have it scored in the middle. On my magnetic platform, I have one of my cutting pads. I have the cardstock that I just cut at 5.5 by 8.5. And what I'm doing is I'm going to actually slide this up to pretty close to the edge of my cutting pad, and then I'm going to put this down on one side of my cardstock. And what I really want to do is I want to line this up. This file tab is pretty much the width of this magnetic platform. So I wanted to line this edge up here with the edge of my paper, so my paper pretty much has to go all the way up to the top there. And I'll just slide this over a little bit and get it as straight as I can get it. Okay, and then I'll put the top cutting pad and I'm going to run this through my Big Shot. When I'm all done and I take this out, I end up with this piece right here, and while I have this, I'm going to go ahead and punch this with the new little itty bitty accents punch pack. I'm punching out the little flower image from that scrap, and you can see I can get a whole bunch of those, so I will probably punch out a few more of those, or maybe some other shapes while I have that out, and I'll put them in a little dish next to me so that I already have some pre-punched things. So now that I'm done with this, and again, I've done videos on this before, but you'll notice that on my framelits, I put my framelits on a little magnetic sheet. These are the 4x6 magnetic picture backgrounds, and it's sticky on the back. I use this on all my framelits, and it's just a wonderful thing because it'll slide right in here and it holds them. It's perfect. I don't lose my framelits that way, and they don't get bent. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this and use my bone folder. One of the little touches I really liked on this card was that there was some paper piercing. I often forget about paper piercing, so I've got my Stampin' Pierce mat, and I've got my cardstock, and this is going to be the front of my card. So I'm just lining up, I want to line up a row of dots. So I'm using from the original Essential Paper Piercing Pack. I'm just going to line up, I'm using these rows of dots right here. I'm lining up the one row so that the second row is the one I'm going to punch in. Then I'm going to take my paper piercing tool, which I use for much more than paper piercing, and I'm just going to gently poke through each of these holes. I'm going to go all the way to the end of the cardstock, and I started where the file starts there, the file tab starts. I'm just making a straight line from that file tab all the way to the bottom of the card. Okay, just like that. So when I take this away, I have this really nice row of perfectly spaced dots. So these little templates, and you can get these templates in all kinds of shapes, and they come in 3 different templates per package. So that's actually a handy little thing. Excuse me. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of designer series paper, and this came from the Moonlight designer series paper stack. I've cut this at 1 inch by 5.5 inches. I'm just going to put some glue on the back, and this is actually going to go on the inside of my card along the back below where the tab is. So this is I'm going to open up my card, and I'm going to line this up with the edge of the back, just like this. You can use your favorite adhesive. I really like that Tombow glue because I find that it sticks really well, especially in humid weather. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to use, to stamp with, I'm going to use this fantastic work of art. I love this sentiment, "You are a fabulous work of art," and I'm also going to use the heart from that, and I'm going to use a couple of my in colors. This is exactly what they did in the demonstrator magazine. So I'm just going to stamp this and hopefully get this fairly straight like that, right in the center of the card and a little toward the top of the card. Okay, so I can put that aside. Now I want that to dry, so for my next step I'm going to attach the little flower I made, and this time I did make it in white, and I'm kind of curling this a little bit with my bone folder. You can another thing that you can do to curl them, and this is actually, I think, works better than my bone folder, is to take your paper piercing mat and take this side of your paper piercer and just kind of push it in. Look how beautifully that actually gives a little dimension to that flower. And then I'm just going to use a glue dot on the back in the center of that. I'm going to put this down here. You can use any color that you want. The New Mossy Meadow might be pretty fabulous also. And then I'm going to put a rhinestone in the center of my flower. Oops, that wasn't actually the center. Okay, and then for my last step, I'm going to take the Lost Lagoon. I've got the heart stamp, and I'm actually going to ink this up, and then I'm going to stamp once on my scrap paper, and then I'm going to stamp right over the center of my sentiment, just like that. That's called stamping off, and it gives you a slightly lighter image, and it works really nicely for layering, things like that. So there you go. You can see this orange flower that I cut from the Itty Bitty Accents punch pack is actually in the Tangelo Twist, which is also one of the new in colors. How cute is that? That's just a really great card, and I love it. I felt inspired by it, and I hope you do too. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Stop by my blog at stampingimperfection.com. Subscribe to this page, to my YouTube channel for more tips and ideas. And you can subscribe to my mailing list at my blog at stampingimperfection.com to get tutorials, tips. You get information about sales, and you also get information about online classes and things that I have. So thanks very much for watching.